Welcome, 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 everyone, to our Comfy Couch Conversations. I am so excited. My name is Robin Shine Maddox, and I am the founder and the creator, the visionary, the executive leader for She Shines. Oh my goodness, we're so excited to have you join us this evening. Did you know that this month is Mental Health Awareness Month? And so, what we decided to do, we decided to bring some subject matter experts to the table, to the public, to all of you. And we're going to have a conversation about Your Mind Matters, exploring mental wellness through faith, work, and lived experience. I'm so excited. We're just going to jump right on in. We have today with us who will be our facilitator, the one and only Dr. Marquita Williams. Woo! Hey, Doc, I can't hear you.
Hello,
There
can
you
you
go.
can you hear me? There I am.
Say hi to everybody.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me here this evening. Now I can see you, Robin, but there's a blue shadow over you. Is that what's supposed to be there?
Oh, no, I don't know about some shadow. I'm not
Uh-oh,
pregnant.
Lord Jesus. Come
Oh,
on now. There's a
I,
blue shadow over both of us.
oh my, I don't know what that is about. Let's just continue to go forward, then we'll
We're
figure
gonna
all
keep
this
on, keep
out.
on. Thank you so much. You know I love a comfy couch.
Yeah, yes, yes, yes. So first of all, I want to say thank you, thank you, thank you for answering the clarion call. You're my
Yes.
go-to, one of my top go-tos when it comes to therapists and just talking about mental wellness, the whole 9 yards, right? And so I want to say publicly to everybody who's watching now, who'll be watching later. Thank you to Dr. Marquita Williams. Girl,
Oh,
we go way back. And
way back.
yeah, and it's so important to have really good sister girlfriends, right?
Mhm.
Like we don't have to talk
Mhm.
every day or every
Yep,
other week, but
yep.
guess what? When we get together, we have some good old times.
We have a good old hooting time.
We certainly do. So I want to thank you for accepting the invitation, my call to say, hey, Doc, this is what was laid on my heart to do. And will you join me in doing this? And let's just make it work. And we have some amazing people who will be joining us on this panel, right?
We certainly do. We have a power packed, we can even say all-star panel of experts in their field. I can't wait to get the conversation going.
Well, listen, someone just texted me and said they don't see the blue cloud that you were referring to. So that's great.
Well, then listen, that is fine. I see it. I don't know if the other ladies will see it, but let's check it out. Would you like me to bring up the first guest?
I absolutely would love for you to bring. Who are you going to bring on first? Who are you going to bring
You
on
know,
first?
let's see. Of all the ladies, why don't we bring up Dr. Raven Maddox?
Woo woo! Let's welcome everyone, Dr. Raven Man.
There
Hi,
she
everyone.
is.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
We're doing well tonight. What do you see when you're looking at the screen?
I see both of you guys clear. You guys are
That's
good
so
on my end.
interesting. That's so
Yeah,
interesting.
and I can hear you
Everybody,
guys.
yeah, everybody on my screen has a blue haze to them, but I'm a rock and roll because I can still see you through the blue. So let's go.
Okay.
And it's in honor of Zeta Phi Beta sorority.
Oh, please.
So
Oh,
that's it.
please. Okay, I'm gonna give it to you. I'll
You're
give
gonna
it.
let
I'll
me
give
have
it
that. You're gonna let me have
to you.
that.
So we
Okay,
know
so
who the first and the finest.
the
Yeah.
first and the finest.
Yes.
The battles.
Oh Lord. Oh Lord. Oh, do not love, right?
All Dina I love. Absolutely.
So, Dr. Raven, why don't you introduce yourself to our audience this evening?
Yes. Hi, everyone. So my
There we
name is.
go.
You can see.
I can see.
Okay, awesome. Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Raven Maddox. I am a family and couple therapist full time. I'm also a professor, speaker, and the CEO and founder of Adulam Grace, which is a social media platform with the foundation of bridging faith and mental health together. And so that's a little bit about myself. I got my doctorate last
Yeah.
2025.
I love it. I remember when Dr. Raven was just a young lady,
Yeah.
going through school and saying, you know what, I think I want to be, a marriage and family therapist, and I'm, going to go out here and figure this out. And look, next thing I look around, Dr. Raven is Dr. Raven. That is so amazing. Like it is. It really is. I'm so proud of you. So it's awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you. I can't wait to hear your insights.
Yes.
We got another guest.
We do.
You ready for the next one?
Yes.
Our next panelist is Tara Wayne Scott.
Woo!
Come on in, Tara.
Hello.
How are you?
Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening. And when you ask me what I see sunshine all over.
Oh, yay.
On a
Beautiful.
cloudy day.
Absolutely.
So would you like to introduce yourself?
Of course. My name is Tara Wayne Scott. I am a VP of Human Resources, but I've been in human resources for over 30 years, working primarily in the pharmaceutical industry across Merck, Johnson & Johnson, and now with GSK. And I have my undergrad in business administration with a dual concentration in operations management and human resources, and my master's of science and organizational dynamics from University of Pennsylvania. But that's all the formal stuff. I think what I'm most proud of across my career is how I've used all of that experience and knowledge to help people. And that's what I've been doing for 30 years, help people navigate the landscape of corporate America. And I'm so happy to be here.
Yes, indeed. That is so important. Oh my gosh. I work for, and I didn't even say who I work for, but I work for the city of Philadelphia. And, I do, under my portfolio, I do a lot of work with HR. And oh my goodness, I'm so happy we have you here because the topic of workplace wellness and how to just support leaders and bringing out the best in their team. Like, we got a lot to talk to you about.
Yes. And I'm so grateful to be here. So thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. And last but certainly not least, we have Dr. Katrina Edmonds. Come on in, Doc. Hey, welcome.
Hello. How are you guys?
We are doing great this evening. Everybody is full of smiles. Tara says she sees sunshine. So this is going to be a good old sister girl conversation. These are my favorite kind. Listen, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself before we jump right in?
My name is Katrina Edmonds, or I should say now Dr. Katrina Edmonds.
That's what you should say.
So a little bit about me. The doctor's new. I'm still getting used to it. I literally just finished the doctorate and graduated this weekend. So exciting times. What else about me? I have been a marriage and family therapist, now licensed, of course, for almost 25 years, practicing in Philadelphia as well as in Jersey. I am the owner of my own practice, Be Set Free Counseling Ministry and Education Center. Much like Raven or Dr. Raven, I am a professor, I am a clinical supervisor, I'm a mentor, a certified life coach, and I serve in ministry, have been serving in ministry for 24 years as a layperson, but still serving in ministry. And my passions are making sure that the faith community has everything that they need to be able to do ministry, but do ministry in a holistic, healthy, and sustainable manner. I am a champion for the special needs community, as well as big thing for me is MFT or graduate school education and making sure that our next generations of clinicians are adequately prepared to handle the needs of the community as they are changing and ever growing every single day. So that's a little bit.
Wow. That is awesome. Look at this dynamic panel. Look, we got expertise in every area. So I will just round it out and say, yes, I am Dr. Marquita Williams. I am currently the Deputy Commissioner for Executive Operations for the City of Philadelphia's Department of Behavioral Health and Intellectual Disability Services. Say that 3 times, right? I work with the commissioner to make sure that every Philadelphian has no barrier access to behavioral health services, whether they're mental health services, substance use disorder services, or intellectual disability services. We make sure that they are available in schools, in your local communities, with crisis care, with psychotherapy services, and you name it, community-based services all the way up to inpatient hospitalization. So when you see all that's happening, that's us over here in the city of Philadelphia, working alongside the mayor to make sure not only are we, making sure that people have their behavioral health services, but we're contributing to the cleaner, greener, safer over here as well. So we got such a great panel here. We got your public and your private panelists here, and we're going to jump right in. So the first thing I want to talk a little bit about is just, this time that we're in, there's so much that's going on and people are stressed out. And we hear these terms all the time about like chronic stress and toxic stress or I'm just stressed. And so I wanted to get your impression of like, what is it when people are talking about chronic stress? Like, what does that mean? Yeah, and I'll start with you, Dr. Katrina. Like, what is chronic stress? How is that different from, everyday stress that I'm feeling when I get up and put my shoes on, get ready to go out the door in the morning?
I think the first thing that comes to mind is there's no respite, there's no break. It is just a constant cycle of just things hitting you, things coming, the inability in the moment to even catch your breath, to actually engage in emotional regulation. Like that's that chronic stress. It's that stress that no matter where you turn, it just keeps going. And sometimes it can feel like it's just overwhelming you. It can feel like it's piling up. And sometimes you start to lose left from right, up from down, because it just feels like this is the most constant thing in my life, as opposed to feeling like you have a moment to sit back, to reevaluate, to put it in its proper perspective. It can begin to alter how you see things, how you experience things, how you perceive things, your perspective on things, your perspective on people, your perspective on resources. So chronic stress can be really, really, really rough for a lot of people. To handle. And sometimes it's sneaky enough where sometimes you don't even see that it's compounding over time. You just wake up one day and you're like, oh my God, what has happened? So that's the hard part about chronic stress.
Oh gosh. Sounds like it differentiates between like sort of, I guess, stress that people carry and can like that is normalized for them in that it's like prolonged and it's creeping up on you consistently. And so there I would imagine are a number of ways that people would recognize like different symptoms around chronic stress. Dr. Raven, what do you think about that? What are some of the symptoms that people should look out for to know that wait, this might not just be some normal stress, this might be a bit of chronic stress?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different things that tend to show up even physically, right? Because our emotions affect our physical body and our physical health. So when you're experiencing a lot of stress in pretty much in your emotions and in your body, that could look like a bunch of things: headaches, cardiovascular issues and challenges and diseases. That can look like even gut health, right? And I have personal experiences with that myself due to chronic stress. And so all of that takes place. And it's funny, I didn't mention this in the beginning, but one of my passions is understanding the faith in bridging the gap with mental health, but also the physical health and your mental and emotional health as well, and how all of that impacts a person's body. And so what happens a lot of times is when we are holding on to a lot of stress, that gets stored in our midsection. Most of the time, in our core, which is in our stomach region, in our GI tract. And so that can range all the way up into your esophagus, all the way down to your rectal area. And so when you are experiencing a lot of stress, you see a lot of individuals, especially in the Black community, where we suffer from a lot of GI issues like Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, diverticulitis. I cannot pronounce that word. It's that word. Yes, a lot of gastro issues, and so sometimes we don't even notice it. So when we're going to the bathroom, right, we may not have the healthiest stools, or we may feel nauseated all the time. And so it's very important that we scale back and we sit back with ourselves and say, okay, what is going on with my body? And then when you really sit down, I mean really sit down, like shut out all the noise. You have to write it down in your journal, do whatever you need to do. But when you really reflect on what your body is holding on to, because your body keeps the score. That's actually a name of a book. The body keeps the score. And so when you are holding on to that stress, you build it up. And sometimes we don't really notice. And we can, this can go into a whole bunch of different directions. Economic status, much how it goes.
You know what though? You are really, really touching on some areas that I hear like wellness and holistic therapists talk about all the time, about how stress gets logged in your body, and it manifests itself as anxiety or depression or pain and trauma getting locked in your body, and you're experiencing it in a variety of ways. So that is so important, and we can talk a lot about that. But it also will manifest itself like in your productivity, like at work, for example, and your attendance and your attitude with your coworkers, and you snapping up to people, And so, Tara, I wanted to talk to you from a leadership perspective in terms of, how can leaders make sure that they are aware of like the impact that stress will have on the workforce, and what is it that leaders should do if you feel like your workforce is stressed out and maybe not as productive as they could be, or you're seeing some of those things that I talked about, attrition and lateness and snappiness, and ask me how I know.
No, I think it's spot on, right? And there's two ways you need to look at this. One, as a leader, it's not just about what people need to do, what they're hired to do, the work, but how is the work affecting them? So are you checking in? Are you starting off your one-to-one conversations or your meetings, or whenever you meet with your team, to ask, how are you doing? How are you feeling? Sometimes that space allows people to decompress, right? When you connect with people about work, are you starting off with the what instead of checking in to see how they're doing, right? So if there's a task to be done or working on projects, is the first thing you ask is, okay, how are we moving the project along? Or are you asking, how are you feeling?
Yes.
What are you most excited about coming up this weekend, or something like that? I mean, those moments of checking in and connecting with people, caring about how they're feeling, is so important, particularly in today's age where, we see a lot of our coworkers leaving, but the work stays. So people are picking up more and more work, and the volume is increasing, and it can get challenging. And so I think as a leader, the first and foremost, most important thing is asking people how they're feeling, because that's the legacy you're going to leave as a leader, not accomplishing the work. Right. So that's the one.
Yeah, you sounding like you somebody in the behavioral health field, because that sounds like a little sex work model, don't it? That sounds a little Sandy Blumish, right? Like, there's this model where you're asking, how are you feeling today, and what do you have on your plate, and do you need any help, And I think that's common in this field, but you're in pharmaceuticals, right? So is that a common HR practice in other disciplines as well? I'm happy to hear that.
It's so interesting, it's so many ways we all look at what we bring to the world in our profession, right? We bring the technical expertise, we bring the experience. And when my joy in this field unlocked when I realized how I could bring my humanity into the space. human resources was known as personnel. And I remember my first class in human resources at Drexel University. It was in some room off to the corner where we sat in a circle and talked about stuff. I don't even know what we talked about to this day, right?
Oh my
But it
goodness.
just shows how much this field and profession has evolved. And it can be the principal's office, or it can be the space where you unlock the power for people to bring all of their talents to the space. And that's how they think about things, the background of their experiences, and how that translates into the workplace, right? I mean, it's this humanity bit. And when I unlocked that, I found joy in it, because that's how I lead a global team. I have individuals that report to me who are based in Siena, Italy, and Belgium, in the UK, and in US. And the moment I'm most proud of, if you were to ask me over the past 6 months, has not been the strategic projects that I'm running, because we don't really do personnel the way people think of personnel. It's really around org design and changes and things. But the things that the one thing I'm most proud of is when one of my direct reports shared with me that her cousin was diagnosed with cancer and it didn't look good, and it was a sister cousin. And you all know I can relate to that with my relationship with my dear Robin, sister cousin.
Absolutely.
And I sent her a basket, they call it a basket, but it's like a picnic basket, but it's full of, just her favorite things. So I asked everybody what's her favorite things. And I had that shipped to her. And she was almost in tears. But that's not the first time I've done that. I do it all the time, because those are the moments where I remind myself what I'm here for, which is to give, and how to bring humanity to the role. So I think leaders can feel a little bit courageous about caring and showing that they care for their team. Sometimes in business, you feel like, oh, there's this wall, but you can always bring your humanity into the space. And as an individual, if you're not a leader, command that from your leaders. Command it. Ask them about it.
I'm going to ask you that question.
If they start the meeting off with things that are going on and how's the project going, of course it's respectful to answer the question, but before the end of the meeting, ask them, how are you feeling?
Maybe tap in, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to get into a little bit more of that, in a few minutes. But I love that. I really, really love that. Remind me to give you my address, right? I love that. Right. But what you said, and we can't see who's watching us, but presumably we have some folks listening, and we're going to throw some questions out. What you said is resonating in my mind. My joy unlocked when? Come on. My joy unlocked when. So I want to ask the folks who are watching us and listening us, finish that sentence. My joy unlocked when? And we'll, check that chat out and see if we can hear some of those stories. But that brings us to our next section around self-care, because joy and experiencing joy and allowing yourself to experience joy, I believe, is a form of self-care, right? So now I'm gonna get into your business. And rolling into that self-care, these couple of questions are really about, we all, have busy lives. So in these high pressure moments, what does self-care look like for you? So I'm going to start with you, Dr. Katrina.
Ooh, self-care. This is that whole to know me is to know section. So,
okay.
To know me is to know I love to laugh. So part of my self-care is doing things to make me laugh, and as well as doing things so that I'm not laughing by myself, that others are laughing with me. So I am very playful. I have my serious side, but I'm very playful. So I'll send funny Instagram things. I'll call people. I'll tell funny jokes. I love to watch comedy. To know me is to know that I am a worshiper at heart. So I'll throw on music in a moment to help just get myself together, get myself right. My village is awesome. And so I will sometimes if I'm feeling some type of way, I'll just check and I'll send messages to my friends and just say, just in case no one has said it to you today, I love you. And that'll just be it. Like, I don't want anything else. I may check in, but it's literally, do you know how great you are? Do you know that you're a rock star? Just in case no one has said it to you, let me remind you about why you are awesome. And that will be the text. That will be it. And then I'll just go about my day knowing that I helped somebody, I help remind someone how much they mean to me. And it does something for me to make sure that people understand how special they are. So those are some of the things that I do.
Here, to you. Did you hear me, Tara?
Oh, I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
Yes, I was asking what self-care look like to you.
Well, I love to laugh like Dr. Katrina. And anyone who knows me knows that. I love a funny moment. And that's important for my soul. It really is. And I would also say for me, it's the daily primers, I call it. So what are the things that I get up and do before, I start my day? And it is with prayer. So listening to the word, that's very important because so many things come at us throughout the day. We can get conditioned to think that it's our problems to solve, and they're not. So just asking God for that wisdom so that I can focus on the things he wants me to and let the things go that's his work. Just giving me that wisdom is very important. And then I think for me, it's the Calm app. I love a good meditation, a good sleep story. And my ultimate self-care is mounds of lip gloss and skincare. I don't know what it is, but it's my joy.
I love it.
I get the greatest joy going out to Sephora or Ulta and buying a $28 lipstick. I tell you, I love it. But they're all the same color, but I love it.
Oh my gosh, me too. Same thing, same color all the time, same color. Oh, I love that. Dr. Raven, I'm gonna give you a slightly different twist to this. Like, how do you know when it's time for self-care? Like when your physical and your emotional being is starting to feel compromised. How do you know? Like, okay, it's time for me to click into me.
Well, the short answer to that is when I start feeling stressed out. And that can look like and come from anywhere or anybody. And I'm one to, I tend to get overstimulated a lot. And so putting up those boundaries. So to answer the previous question, like what are some of my ways of implementing self-care is those boundaries. But for me personally, it's when I start to feel like, okay, there's a lot going on. Like I need to settle down. I can only do one thing at a time. When I was younger, my mom can attest to this. And my parents, they would say, okay, Raven, these are your chores. I would say, wait, just give me one thing at a time. I can't do everything. I can't multitask. Now, it has gotten better with the multitasking, especially when it comes to work. But when there's so much going on around me and my surroundings, I have to really pace myself accordingly. So putting up those boundaries for myself is very important, especially now that I'm in a season where my health is very, very important. That's like number one priority for me right now in this season of my life. And so, just taking time to rest, really, because that is very important. That is not just a physical thing, but it's an emotional reset. It's a spiritual reset. It's an intellectual reset. It's an occupational reset. It's rest is very important. So whatever I can do in that moment. And I'm both an extrovert and an introvert. My extrovertedness, it tends to come out when I'm doing things like this, like speaking, or if I'm out, at brunch or dinner. But I am also very introverted. I can be in the house and I like my time alone. I'm the only child. So I never had to grow up sharing anything with anyone. So I like resting. I like my lip glosses. I like, it's so funny, Sarah, you were saying that because I was just having this right here. I just got it at Sephora. But yes, and I also like to laugh too. You know, like I will sit on the couch and watch funniest home videos by myself and be cracking just by myself. I don't need nobody around.
Feeding yourself. Yeah.
Yes, because laughter is good medicine to the soul, right? So
Yes.
it's very holistic the way that I implement that and how I identify when that stress is coming and when I need to implement that.
Perfect. I love that. I mean, you just rolling us right along because the questions I have coming up are about boundaries and rest. And you know, it's important because so many busy people, I think like we prioritize the value of busy. Like I'm in, you know, 17 women's organizations and I, you know, I got this at work and I got my family and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And many of us see like rest as a luxury. Like, girl, I ain't got time. Listen, I got to do this. I got to do that. I can't. They call me and I'm sleeping late on a Saturday morning. It's 9 o'clock. It's 9 o'clock. What you doing? You better get up. You got things to do. This is the thing I got to do, right? And so I want to know, how have you been able to translate that, like from rest being a necessity as opposed to a luxury? And it may even mean like sometimes, some days you just might say, I'm not going to work today, or I'm turning off today. I'm not, you know, on this phone. I'm not, you know, doing all the things that people have an expectation of me today because I'm doing what I need, what I expect for myself. So I really, you know, want to know, like, how have you made that shift as, you know, busy, high functioning Black women? Tara, I'll jump to you and then I'll come over here to you, Dr. Katrina.
Yeah, it's so funny. That's such a great question, Dr. Marquita. And I think for me, it sort of ties back to something Raven said at the top of the call around, you know, your body tells you, your body knows. Mm-hmm. And I used to, when I was earlier in my years, I would respond to, you know, you feel agitated, you feel uncomfortable, you feel like you're being short with people and you're not, you know, you just don't feel your best. And I have learned over time that those are the signals for me to rest, for me to step away, to give myself the headspace, to go laugh, to go have fun, right? To take a moment away, go for a walk. So I listen to my body. Even when I'm getting ready for a meeting and I don't want to attend the meeting, it's something, a difficult topic, right? I have to ask myself why, and I need to, you know, make sure that I have some time after that meeting to decompress. And so to answer your question, I listen, I take those cues now as signals for me to rest and to recuperate.
Perfect. Thank you for that. Thank you. Dr. Katrina?
I think I start out by asking people just like simple questions like, is gas for your car optional or a necessity? Is food for your stomach optional or is a necessity? And so most people are going to tell me, oh, well, those are necessary. I said, well, why are they necessary? Well, how else you going to go? And I say, well, what do you think sleep is? Like, if you don't sleep, you're not going to go. Listen. You can either listen to your body or your body will shut you up and shut you down.
Shut you down.
And so, and it gives you the warning signs, the yawning, the chronic fatigue. And listen, trust me, after this dissertation, I understand. And I have pushed and I have pushed and I have pushed. And honestly, my body is just like tapping you on the shoulder. Remember what you had to do with those 4.5 months of 100-hour weeks, just reading and writing. Guess what? Your whole sleep schedule. I'm telling you, when I say I'm sleepy, we're sleeping. I don't care what you're about to do. So you don't necessarily want to get your body to that point. You want to respect the thing that's going to uphold you. You want to respect the thing that is helping you do and accomplish the task that you have by honoring it and giving it what you want. Your brain is not going to growl at you, at least not audibly. Your stomach will. And that's how most people know that they need to go eat. But at the same thing, your body cannot repair itself without sleep. Your mind will not work optimally without sleep. You will not present in your best emotional self, in your best spiritual self, in your best physical self without sleep. So again, I asked the people, would you say no to your stomach for food for an extended amount of time? Would you tell your car, oh, you just gonna have to figure it out? If the answer is no, then why are you telling yourself that sleep is a luxury? There, just because it's me, there is nowhere in scripture where that is supported. When we think about just our foundational things, the Lord always rested. That's how this world works. He rested. He was trying to tell us from jump that rest was important. It's not something, if you're going to cut something, cut your shopping, don't cut your rest. You have to rest in order to do everything that is on your task. You have to rest. So that's normally what I tell you.
Absolutely. And you said something about, does your brain doesn't growl at you, but it might, if you get these headaches. For me, my brain is growling at me. I get foggy, like I get a little brain fog. Like, wait a minute. What was I saying? What was I? I've done walked in here 10 times. What am I coming in here for? That's okay. Go back.
It slows down everything else if you don't give it the fuel that it needs. And yes, it needs food, but it's kind of like our computers. Our phones and our computers tell you, hey, I have a system update that I need to do.
Right.
You can go ahead and ignore that if you want, and then you're going to wake up and your phone is going to be doing all types of stuff. And so our bodies are the same way. We have a system update that we need to do, and it is required to do it on a daily basis. You can put off the update, but the update has to happen, and it will catch up to you. So
it's going to find you. Absolutely. Absolutely. Dr. Raven, I want to get back to something that you said when you started this line of these questions around boundary setting, right? You hear people talking about all the time, I got to protect my peace and I got to set these boundaries for the people and all of that. And so it's a lot of talk, right? It's not only something that we have to do for ourselves, but it's an expectation that you have to set for other people. And so I want to, get from you ladies, how have you been able to set these boundaries for people around you? Because if people are often, they want to access you when they want to access you. They need you when they need you. They want what they want when they want it. And then you said, okay, listen, this is not the time for me. Or no, I'm not going to go out on Saturday night because I'm just tired. So I'm going to stay home today. Or whatever it is in terms of boundary that you set for yourself. Sometimes other people will look at that as, oh, she's being selfish, or she's not, being a team player, or whatever it is, and whatever the particular environment is. And so I want to ask, how do you set the boundary, not just for yourself, but the expectation of respecting that boundary with other people? Dr. Raven.
Yeah. So I'm very practical, and I'm a realist. So I don't really take these types of, I don't think too deep into these types of questions. I'm very practical, right? So short answer, I don't answer the phone. Another answer, I will put my phone on do not disturb. Now, here's the thing. I think the difference is how you approach the situation, right? Because I can approach it out of arrogance towards other people by saying, oh, I don't want to talk to you. I don't have time right now, right? I think that there is a responsibility that we have as the communicator to the person that we are setting the boundary with. Like, hey, give me a second. I'll get back with you in 5 minutes, or, can I give you a call back? Or if I don't answer and I don't get back to them until the next day, hey, I did see that you called me yesterday, right? I just want to reach back out and, let's talk. Let's see what you had to say. And so I think that with communicating with the other person and setting that expectation for them is important in terms of how we present that information, right? Because it's a valuable thing. Putting up boundaries is sacred, to me, at least. And so I really honor that for myself. And so the people that I'm around, my village, my friends, my inner circles, they know, and I communicate with them ahead of time, hey, this isn't really a good time. I'll get back with you guys, at a later date. Now, in terms of, we can't control how other people are going to respond and how they're going to. We can't control that, right? But as long as it is communicated effectively in a healthy and positive way, that is how I make sure that at least those expectations are met on both ends. So
great, thank you. And that's what I was going to ask you, Dr. Katrina. What happens when people, they aren't respecting those boundaries? And listen, I know you said that you're going to give me a call back tomorrow, but I need to talk right now. Listen, I need what I need right now. How do you
love this? I love boundaries. I teach, profess boundaries all the time. So I think to expand even what Raven has said, I think the first thing that has to happen is that we all need to understand that not everybody has equal access to us, or at least they should not. And so it is important to understand, who are you dealing with? Is it someone that it is in my inner circle? I have a different level of conversation, but they also have a different relationship with me. And so I may give them a little bit more explanation than I give the person who is just my associate or my stranger. Why? Because I don't owe you that. What I owe you is the courtesy of saying, hey, I don't have it right now. I will contact you when I do. They can go back and forth, but what they're telling me is a little bit about their character and how I need to handle them going forward. And so if I've been forthcoming with the information, your nonverbal speaks louder than your verbal to me. You figure 85 to 90% of communication is nonverbal. How you respond to me tells me, will you get closer proximity to me or not? Or do I need to actually insulate myself a little bit more with how I handle you and how I deal with you and what I give you privy to actually experience with me? And so I think that's one of the things that a lot of people have to work on doing, is understanding where people are. Who are your strangers? Who are your acquaintances? Who are your friends? And so when I do this with my clients, the way I explain it to the strangers are the people that are just out of the street or people you don't necessarily know. Your acquaintances are the people that you may have happenstance with. Like, you may know their name, you may know that they have a child or a pet or a spouse, but that's about it. It's not really a relationship like that. And then you get to the friends. These are the ones that you'll invite to a cookout, but they can't come in your house. You might have a porta potty outside for them because they really can't in the house. Your good friends are the ones that can come to the cookout, they can come in your house, but they can't roam your house. You know who those people are. And so you can already see how the different levels of information in the way that I communicate with those different groups of people are different. Then we get to your close friends. The circle is getting tighter. And so with your close friends, these are the ones that can come in your house, they can go to your kitchen, but they will ask you before they open your fridge. Right? So you're just like, I trust you to be in my house. I trust you to be comfortable. However, don't just go in my refrigerator and eat anything. My BFFs can come in my house, can go in my fridge, and can go upstairs. And my core people, they could take a nap on my bed. They actually have a code to my house because they have built that type. And so those people, I can just say, I don't have it right now. And most of them can look at me and say, you know what? I know you don't have it right now, so I'll hit you up later. However, I don't owe that type of explanation to the stranger. What they going to do with that information? They have no context for it. So I think part of it is understanding, who am I talking to and how much information do I need to give you based off of your proximity and access to me? And then if you have a tantrum, duly noted, I'll know what to do with you. And please understand, with these levels of access, people can be promoted and demoted based off of how they respond and what they do. So that's the stuff that I normally talk to people about.
Promoted and demoted. I love it. I love it. So what you're talking about is sort of how we transition across our life, across these roles, professional, personal, caregivers, sister, friend, and so forth. And so Tara, I wanted to ask you about that. Like as we transition those roles, as Dr. Katrina is talking about, our boundaries shift. They're fluid, they move based on these relationships and these roles. And how would you help the women who are listening to us tonight, help them understand how to navigate that shifting of the boundaries as you move across roles in your life, as you're at work versus when you're with your friends or your family members or your parents or your kids or some people, I am who I am, so everybody gets access. I'm authentic, at every what it is, what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's a
Talk
great
about the
question.
importance of that. Yes, boundary shifting.
It is incredibly important at work for many reasons, right? In the workplace. As friendly as people are, many individuals have worked in companies with organizations for 20 plus years. It's still work. And so it gets to a point Dr. Katrina made around understanding who is in which circle. Because what feels comfortable while you're having lunch out together is not necessarily mean that person's in your close circle. And so it's all about understanding how you keep individuals in their respective circles and never really cross those boundaries, right? Because they do lead to misunderstanding around access. They lead to misunderstanding around just expectations that you will do certain things for them, they'll do certain things for you, and it blurs the lines. So that keeping people in the right circle is incredibly important. I think also recognizing that, as you're crossing the different boundaries, what does that mean as you're crossing into the different circles? So what are some of the implications of that? What do you need to watch out for? Because the consequences are different for each circle. And that element is incredibly important as well. So I think it's the circle. It's all about the circle and knowing who's in it. Yeah.
Circle. Yes, you're absolutely right. And what I hear you saying is we have to give ourselves permission to do the things that, are important to us, whether it's boundary setting, wherever you are with your friends, your family, we have to make sure that we are taking care of ourselves. And Dr. George James would say one way of doing that is by giving ourselves permission. Welcome, Dr. James. How are you?
Hello, everybody. Thank you.
Yes, we are so happy to see you this evening.
I feel like I'm invading. Like I should be just somewhere else. Somebody all these wonderful, amazing women that I just get to hang out with for a few minutes. It's just awesome.
It's always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to have you. We know that you have, some great things to tell our listeners this evening.
Well, I'm grateful to be here, and I know everybody. So, Dr. Marquita, hey, Dr. Raven, hey, Dr. Katrina, hey, Ms. Tara Scott. I remember you from earlier in the year, I'm just grateful to be here. And I think with thinking about Mental Awareness Month, and probably all the things I missed, but I know the wonderful things that you all said. The thing that I've been sharing with people is that it's so important that we give ourselves permission. And some of the things that I've been saying, why it's so important is because we tell ourselves stories. We tell ourselves that we can't, or that we shouldn't, or not someone that looks like me, or what it means to be a mom, or what it means to be a Black person, that all these things that we tell ourselves, and what we end up doing is that we either put ourselves low on the list or we don't even make the list. And we don't practice self-care. We don't practice even joy, the things that will make us happy. And so I really am just trying to encourage people to give themselves permission to move up on the list, to practice joy, to practice self-care, to try those things that maybe might be important to them.
We were just talking about that, talking about joy and self-care and being busy professionals. And, with that, the whole idea of like stopping in your day, trying to reset yourself, recenter yourself, giving yourself permission to take that space, for yourself in a moment of busyness. Can you talk just a bit about like how people do that? How do you kind of stop and recenter, like redirect your energy for yourself?
It's really hard. And what I try to tell folks is that what I've recognized in my years of practice, 25 years, is that there are at least four barriers, and four that I say that get in the way. There's societal stress, like everyday things like headlines or caring for family or worrying about money or just allergies, like just things that we get stressed about. That's level one. Level two is leadership stress. It's the unique stress you have of just being a leader. Three,
Mhm.
justice stress, the impact of experiencing justice over and over and over again. And family of origin stress. Even when you come from a good family, the things that you learn can be great, but really on the other side of that, there's probably something you need to unlearn. So those are the barriers that get in the way. And I try to help people before you can just find the time to give yourself permission or try to practice self care. You got to realize what gets in the way. What are the stories and the barriers that get in the way? Once you notice that, then you can actually now start to come up with a plan. And I really encourage people to figure out what's the smallest domino, the first domino and smallest piece that you can do. So if you say you want to spend time with your child or grandchild, maybe you need to take that moment. If you want to read the book, if you want to take a class, if you want to go on vacation, whatever it might be, what's the smallest piece, the first domino that you can take, but you got to recognize the other things that get in the way.
Absolutely. And so I would imagine these are the kind of things that you're talking about in your book. Is that correct?
It
We
is.
keep using that buzzword, give myself permission. That's the title of your book. So is that it right there? Hold it
It
up so
is.
the people can
This
see.
is. Here it is. I give
There it
myself
is.
permission. There's a little light there. There it is.
There it is.
Um,
There it is. Talk to us a bit more about that.
I'm grateful that this really, from all the work that I've done, actually built up to a keynote that I started 4.5 years ago. And that keynote has allowed me to go across the country and even international, really helping people to think about giving themselves permission. And then that led to a book contract. Wrote the book in the middle of the night. And then in January of this year, the book was released. And I've just been really grateful to kind of share this message in lots of different places. And in the book, I take what I share in the keynote and then I expand it. Some of the chapters are giving yourself permission to not be perfect, giving yourself permission to love and be loved, or to let go and move on, or giving
Mhm.
yourself permission to heal from your trauma, or giving yourself permission to play and rest. I talk a lot about various things that we could possibly give ourselves permission. One chapter I love, or two chapters I love, is giving yourself permission to change family scripts. Those things that has been in our families for years, for generations, or even giving yourself permission to forgive. And so I
Mhm.
cover these things in the book.
I love that because when I heard it, I said, "Oh, absolutely! I give myself permission. Look, whatever it is, yes, Marquita, absolutely,
That's right.
right." But it's important that people know that like we have access to the life that we want to live, the authenticity that we want to experience, the relationships that we want to develop, because we get stuck into these patterns of being, and everybody around you says it's supposed to go this way. And it's okay to give yourself permission to shift gears and to change direction and to move in a different way. So thank you for that. I wanted to ask my panelists if you have, anything that you'd like to ask Dr. George James or say about giving yourself permission. And
I'll go.
Mhm.
Don't shake your head.
Uh,
um, do you see, like in some of your conversations across the country, do you see any patterns of either the things that people are struggling with the most, or just people's reactions or responses after having your keynote?
Yeah, two things. Well, I'll answer that question first. One of the things that I see often across the country in almost every room when I'm doing the keynote, I ask people to either raise their hands or to stand up. I show them a list of things that are stressors on the societal stress list, and I also include it in the book. And one thing sticks out. It's number 5 on my list, and it's grief. And I ask people to raise their hands or to stand up if in the past 5 years they've lost somebody they love. And without a doubt, it's at least 85% of every room, sometimes 90. Just earlier this week, it was about 98% of the people that was in the room identified grief. And it just highlighted to me that so many of us are dealing with grief as part of our stressors. And part of that grief makes us feel like we can't give ourselves permission, or we can't even allow ourselves to fully grieve or be in that process. And I don't feel like, you grieve and it's over. Like it's a lifelong experience that you have. And some people are struggling with that, and that gets in the way. And then the other part that I've seen, to the second part of your question, is that I bring people through our emotional roller coaster. I make people feel a lot when we're talking about all the things that get in the way. But what I love is seeing people light up when they start to say what they're going to give themselves permission to do. I was in Minneapolis last week. Somebody said, you know what? I'm going to give myself permission to retire. I've been thinking about it and I keep delaying it. And they did. I had an 83-year-old woman that said, I need to maybe practice it. And when she started saying some things that she was doing, she said, well, when I was 80, I jumped out of a plane. I'm like, lady, you already given yourself permission.
Yes.
And then one of the things that really kind of stuck out to me recently is this young man that I met heard me do my talk in October. And then I just happened to run into him at church. And he said, you know what? When I heard you say that, I told my girlfriend about it. And it actually helped me to get baptized. I'm like, wait, how? Tell me about that. And he said he had some fear and limitations about deepening his relationship with God. And he gave himself permission to release that fear and be able to go deeper, and got baptized. And so like the thought of people really allowing themselves to be free and let go of these limitations to do whatever it might be has just been amazing. And I've just seen it over and over again.
Oh, that is beautiful. That like really touches me. In my mind, as you were talking about the person giving themselves permission to retire, I thought, oh, I want to do that, but I have to come live with y'all. So I'm gonna have to rethink that permission.
I need a couple more dollars before I do that.
Exactly. It has to be, you got to make sure the permission that you're giving yourself makes sense.
Exactly.
And so I see that our fearless leader, Robin Shine Maddox, has joined us. Robin, do you have something that you are coming on to contribute?
First of all, I am so delighted to be part of the listening audience. This is amazing, and people are texting me as well as stating their comments in the chat. So I'm multitasking, but I'm listening. I'll say my comments at the end because I'm about to get choked up when I'm looking at the screen and I see you all just embracing and supporting what God has assigned me to do. And I'm feeling the love and I'm seeing the love. And especially, yes, you guys know I'm about to say this, just to see and to hear my daughter. It's something when you see your child, well, no longer a child, but your daughter now, who was once in your stomach, in my stomach, and then in my arms, and now to see and to hear her, how she's matured so greatly, and she's surrounded by so great cloud of witnesses, right? Those who have been part of her village. And I do want to say this because this is so important, talking about wellness and our well-being. I believe that part of my well-being is to be able to create space, opportunity, and a legacy for my daughter. And I want people to see that, those who are watching, part of my well-being. And I hope that you see that as well, if you're a parent or an auntie or uncle, as that being part of your well-being when you see your being, Raven, right, your child now growing up and becoming who she was purposed to become. And so while we're talking about, and having this discussion about mental health, right? And all of us can share a story or two about our mental health being challenged when you're raising your child, right? Or your children, but how, with the support and help of those who come alongside to help you navigate through that, right? And so when we think as parents that we have lost our mind or we're losing our mind because we keep repeating the same thing over and over and over again to our children, right? Like, what's wrong with you? I just want to be the one to speak to those parents, those grandparents, and the aunties, the uncles, and even the teachers, right? The village that, be not weary in your well-doing and what investing in your children and your grandchildren and your students, right? And your neighborhood kids, because yes, in due season you will reap if you faint not.
Amen to that. That is beautiful, Robin. I was saying, something slightly similar, and just in terms of watching Raven grow and seeing her here now as Dr. Raven. So job well done, Mama. Job well done. And I'm sure I can speak for everybody here that says we are happy to be a part of your village and to always be here to support you and see the manifestations of God's vision for your life that we, are humbled to be a part of. So thank you for having us here. And we got some more talking to do, honey bun. So I want to know, Dr. George, are you hanging out with us, or you in and out?
I got like 5 more minutes.
Listen, let me tell you something. You got your Today Show posture on and you running it down. So I'm going to use those moments, specifically. I want to make sure we get what we go and get. So, as you're talking about, giving yourself permission, we have, a lot of topics that we're going to be touching on tonight. And we have a couple more, but there's one important one about like knowing when to seek support, knowing when to push through, knowing when, if it's okay to say, listen, I don't have it anymore and I need some help, And so I wanted to just kind of ask, all of you, like, how do you know, and to Dr. George, like, how do you give yourself permission to know the difference between this is just a moment I need to push through, or no, this is the time I need to pause and seek some support, and for our panelists, it's, a similar question around, knowing the difference between being able and knowing that I'm at a space that it's not that I'm so overwhelmed, everybody is around me is pushing me to seek support, but that these indicators have welled up. And so this is now the time to seek support versus to push through. So I'll start with you, Dr. George.
Yeah, earlier this week, I had an opportunity to be on a podcast, and I was asked a question about hopelessness and despair.
Mm-hmm.
And I know this panel would have lots of different additions to what I'm about to say, but I said that hopelessness feels like being in a tunnel, and often we'll hear the phrase, "There's a light at the end of the tunnel," but hopelessness feels like there's no light; it's just dark. And you can't see. It's so dark you can't even see your hand in front of your face. And then despair feels like when you've been there long enough, you stop trying to find if there's a tunnel, or if there's a light somewhere. And I think when I think about when you need to ask for help is when you start to feel like you don't see the light and you're struggling, you've tried a little bit, and now you're still in that space. Before you get to despair, get some help. And if you're already in despair, get some help. And I think giving yourself permission to say, it's okay. I had to learn that lesson. I talk about it often. A mutual friend, colleague, a mentor, Dr. Phyllis Swint, was one of the first people who told me, you don't ask for help. And I didn't. But I love that she said that to me, and it stuck with me and shifted my life, because that's been my journey, asking for help throughout my life and career. And sometimes we need people to tell us, you need to ask for help, and then to give yourself permission to actually do it. So don't get stuck in hopelessness, because I don't want you to end up in despair.
To
So hopefully
despair.
you'll reach out and get some support and give yourself permission to ask for help.
I love that. I love that. Dr. Katrina?
I think, well, I love all of that answer. I think where I start with is how we think about what is the prerequisite for why you need help to begin with. That's the place that I start. And so I think about therapy a little bit different. I think about support a little bit different. It's just everybody deserves to have somebody that they can bounce ideas and concerns about off of in a neutral space. That's what therapy is. And so the intensity of it depends on the intensity of the conversation that we're having. But therapy is safe space. That's the end of the day. And so in terms of the difference between when you need support or not is, do you need a safe space? If you feel like you need a safe space, and you don't have to go to therapy when the stuff falls apart.
Right.
Oftentimes that means you're going to work harder.
Right.
You can go to therapy as preventative medicine. And it can just be like, give me the tools so that I won't actually have to get to that point. And so if we begin to open our mind to think about the same way that we go to our nail tech because we want our hands to look better, not because our hands need the nails. The same way we go to our lash tech because we just want it to look cuter, not because we need the lash extensions. It's the same way with support. We go to these people to enhance. They can help when things fall apart, but we can start with them as an enhancement to what we already have so that we can learn the skills to implement them sooner so that it doesn't get to hopelessness or despair as George is talking about. And so that's what I challenge people. It's just like, okay, so what do we need to say to you so that you recognize that seeking help does not mean that there's something wrong or broken about you. Seeking help actually means that you love yourself enough to allow somebody else the pleasure of taking you along a safe journey. And you're willing to trust their expertise to get you there along the way and use the skill set that they want to present to you, because good therapists, great therapists work themselves out of a job.
Absolutely.
I don't want to be there forever. I want to equip you so that you can do what you need to do.
Yes.
And so that's the way that I conceptualize support is allow me the pleasure of giving you the tools so you can stand stronger for longer. So
I love that. Giving you the tools so you can stand stronger for longer. Come on now, put that on a shirt. That's amazing. I love that. Come on now. Y'all ready to go. Look, Tara, I have a question for you in terms of leadership, right? So how do leaders who are identifying perhaps that a staff member, an employee is struggling, support that individual in an empowering way to seek support, like to go to your EAP or to, just to make sure that they're taking care of themselves?
Yeah. And your question was a good leader?
Yes. Well, I said a leader, but that would be a good leader.
Okay, so a good leader always seeks to understand. If someone's not performing well, if they're not quite showing up, the way they used to, a good leader would seek to understand and ask questions around how they're doing. So it's not treating the incident, the issue, the mistake. It's asking the question to seek to understand why. Is there anything going on? And even if they don't want to share, how can you help? Because the way we think we want to help, the way we want help is not necessarily what works for everybody, but how can you help? So I think for me, in my experience and what I've seen, the best leaders seek to understand and they meet the person where they are, right? So if they need help, what does that look like? Is it EAP? Sometimes it's a little mentorship. Sometimes it's giving people grace to say they have a lot coming at them in life. Change is constant. I look in the mirror and I'm like, I remember when I was 23. I'm not 23 anymore. I see my daughter running through here with energy and I'm not that anymore. Life changes, things happen. And as we experience change in life, we discount the fact that we absorb so much without even recognizing it until we get to that point that Dr. Katrina and Dr. George mentioned, where you're in despair, you don't see the light. People don't run to that, they end up there. So it's very important to try to meet people where they are and seek to understand what's going on in their lives so you can help them. And that's how I coach leaders when they talk about issues. What's going on with that person? Are they okay? Are they experiencing anything at home, something that's changing, right? Do they need help with that? So I think it's that bit, because as humans, we don't always recognize how our body is, we're shock absorbers. We're absorbing all this change all the time. And then you look up and you see your whole world has changed and you haven't even had a chance to recover, right? And you end up showing up in, where you're not necessarily at your best at work and etc. But that's just the place where we end up. So that's my view, is seek to understand.
As a human resources professional, a very humanistic, emotionally mature and connected mindset and philosophy to working with, employees. And I think that, all of your employees, I'm sure, are benefiting greatly from this very personal, humanitarian, mindset that you have, because I've worked with some human resource folks and that's not how they see it. And so I love that you're able to give that advice, to leaders around helping to support people who may be struggling in the workplace. We have one last question in this area, and then I'm going to, let Dr. George go. But Dr. Raven, I wanted to ask you, what advice would you give to an individual who's in that struggle, like the struggle of the responsibilities of their daily life and feeling maybe a sense that they should seek support, but feeling like, I don't have time for that right now because I have these responsibilities, and they're stuck right there in that middle. Is there some advice you would give them?
Yeah, so it goes back to what I was saying before, right? Like taking the time to sit with yourself, reflect what is important right now, what can wait, what can be done at a later date, etc. Right? That's very, very important in trying to find that balance, because one, support is definitely it's part of how I practice, is through the 8 dimensions of wellness and that social component. Your support system, your friends, your family, your inner circle. Who do you go to when you are spiritually down? Who do you call to pray for you? Who do you call just to have a listening ear while you ramble and you talk about the things that is going on in your life? But support is really important. And so sitting with yourself and really reflecting on what's important at this moment, writing it down is always something that I suggest all the time, because for those of us that are so busy with the day-to-day, right, life moves very fast, and sometimes we forget certain things. And so when you have it written down, then it's a reminder for you, right? So creating that balance in that and the practical things is important. And also I want to mention this as well, like I give myself permission, and what Dr. Katrina was talking about in terms of the support, it all boils down to making that choice. And that's really what it boils down to. And so what a lot of people have struggles with and challenges with is making that choice, especially for those who are clinically diagnosed with depression or anxiety. It's like, that hopelessness, right? Those keywords that we look for when people are talking to us as therapists about what they're going through and the challenges that they're going through, and really helping them to understand that it does start with a choice. And one of the things that I always say, especially in my in my friend group, we have a women's Bible study. And so one of the things I always say is, as it is in the natural, so it is in the spiritual, right? And so when we think about the transforming of the renewing of our minds, that is a choice that we have to make. We have to be able to make the decision to transform our mindset so that we can do the things that we need to do. And once we do that, our bodies come into alignment and everything else tends to come into alignment. And so I think that this is great that in terms of wrapping this topic up, right, and putting a nice bow on it, because it's from the rest, right, that we were talking about earlier, to the different types of coping skills. Well, honestly, I have a love-hate relationship with that term coping, depending on the situation. I do think it is necessary, absolutely, but it's sometimes depending on the context. But for the sake of the conversation, those coping skills, right? And now we're talking about I give myself permission and the choice that we have to make. That is our responsibility to do. People cannot make that choice for us, even if they say, no, you're going to come with me and we're going to go here, or I'm going to voluntarily put you in the 302, whatever it is, right? But it is up to you after the fact. How are you going to do with the feelings that you have right now? What are you going to do with those emotions? Because that is your responsibility. And that is something that I had to learn personally as a therapist, especially in my earlier, when I've been doing therapy for 8 years, and it seems like such a short period of time for some, but that's a long time for me. And so I used to always feel like I had to be the one to fix the problem for everybody. Until my mentor, who is also Dr. Phyllis Swint, told me, and we talk, if not every week, at least like 3 to 4 times a month. She told me, you can't fix everyone's problems. That's not your responsibility as a therapist. And she was my professor back in 2018 and 19. So she's been drilling this stuff into me all throughout the years, that it is not my responsibility. I cannot be my client's parent. I cannot be that savior for them. Yes. And so creating that balance, even in that, learning how to hold space for them in the room, but also not carrying it at home with me. It's very important. So again, it all starts with that transforming your mindset. Yes.
Transforming your mindset and giving yourself permission to leave it right there in the room. Right, Dr. George? Thank you so much. Yes, Dr. George, for being with us tonight. We really, really, really appreciate having you here with us. Thank you, for your perspective. Thank you for your insights. Show the book again so the people can see it and go out there and give themselves permission. And if you have any, last words about how people can contact you or purchase the book, please do so at this time.
I appreciate it. And it's an honor. It's a privilege. It's a blessing just to be around such amazing, wonderful, talented, not just superstars, but just amazing women of God who are doing great things. And so the best way is to go to igivemyselfpermission.com, igivemyselfpermission.com. And if you can't remember that, go to georgetalks.com and you'll find it. The book is on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and any independent bookstore that you wanted to go to.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. George.
Thank you. Bye-bye. So ladies, thank you so much for that perspective. And Raven, you just been rolling us along all evening, right? Just moving us, to the next module, and particularly with that Be Ye Transformed, right by your mind. I love that. I had that as my screensaver for quite some time because my mind needs to be transformed, y'all, but that's something for another time. We are talking about stress and recentering ourselves and making sure that we set our boundaries. And it is nothing for me that is more recentering than going to God in prayer. And that is one of the things that, I think is really important as we're talking about helping people to seek support, to know when to seek support. And so I wanted to, start with you, Dr. Katrina, and talking about like in times of stress and when people are feeling, overwhelmed, how, and in times of uncertainty, we living in a big, time of uncertainty just in our country and all the things that are happening every day that we would have never thought that we would be revisiting. I wanted to know, from your perspective, how important is prayer and spiritual grounding in helping us to maintain a sense of mental wellness?
Oh my gosh.
Come on now. Listen, come on. I know you said, come on, grab it, waiting.
Right. How do you not pray? The equivalent is, can you live without breathing?
Mm-hmm.
That's how important prayer is. Without it, how do you get your instructions? Without it, how do you know what your Father intends for you, what he has to say about you, what he thinks about you, where he's sending you, what he has to say about the situation that you're in? Like, prayer is how you deepen your relationship with him. It's not this formal, oh thou Father. It's not that. It's, your child is hurting, or I'm confused, Father, help me out, or can we just sit? Like, I love my grandparents. And when I was a little girl, I would sit in the kitchen with my grandparents, not necessarily with something intentional on my mind, but I just wanted to be in their presence because I knew that they had something for me, even if it was just the fact that they were there with me. And that is the same thing that happens in prayer. Like, we don't have to go to him and be like, I want. Sometimes we just need to be with him. And in that, yes, he already knows, everything about us. He knows the hairs on our head. He knows all that, but that doesn't mean that he doesn't want to hear from us. It doesn't mean that he doesn't want us to open up to him. Like, he is a gentleman. He wants to be invited into your life. He wants to be invited to stay on a constant journey of relationship with you. And so I get excited when I talk about prayer, or when I think about prayer, because I'm just like, any other relationship that you have in life, how do you strengthen that relationship? You spend time and you talk with them.
Yeah.
So there's no way that you're going to strengthen that with him without that ongoing communication with him. And that's what prayer is. It is an ongoing communication with your Father, who cares about you and who desires to sit with you and to look at you and remind you why you're special, and sometimes kick your tail into what he told you to do to begin with. And so that's how I tend to think about prayer. And there's nothing too big that you can't go to him with. There's no mistake that you can make that he says, don't come to me back. Don't come back. He's not going to say that. He's just like, my grace is sufficient. I have enough grace and I have enough mercy and I have enough love to cover you. I've already sent my son to die for that. So now that we know that, why wouldn't you talk to him? Mm-hmm. And even if you have nothing else to say, but I'm here, that's enough. He will take that and run with it. So.
That's enough. Amen. Pass the plate, Robin. You got a virtual basket because she done preached in here tonight. That is enough. My grace is sufficient. Dr. Raven.
Oh, okay. Never mind. I'm sorry. I didn't even know you was coming to me. I wanted to piggyback off of what Katrina was saying.
Go ahead. Yep.
While that is very important, there's also a neurological component to this too. And again, this is what I appreciate a lot about God and his creation and how he just created us with us in mind very intently and with intention. Because when we pray, right, that activates the activity in your frontal lobe, which is the main component for focus and concentration. It lowers the fear, the fight, flight, freeze, and fawning response in your amygdala in your brain. It lowers the cortisol, which is the stress hormone. We were just talking about stress earlier. And so when we are in prayer and when we are in worship, when we're in praise, all of that comes into alignment the way that it's supposed to be. So this isn't just a spiritual thing. Like, yes, that is very important. That is part of the 8 dimensions of wellness as well, that spiritual aspects, which I do believe needs a lot more research in, because it's not a lot of research on the spiritual component. However, while that is respected from the spiritual, there is a physical, a physiological, and a neurological component to it as well. So I just want to share that, because a lot of people think of prayer as just like, oh, we're just going to pray, you know, God is great, God is good, and we thank him for our food. By our heads we are fed, thank you Lord, our daily bread, right? Like those quick prayers. But when we are really in deep prayer and intercession and all those other great things, that really does shift the brain. And studies have shown that there are certain parts of our brain that fires up when we are in prayer. And so I just wanted to share that, because there is a interconnectedness with all of it.
And that really is where, you know, I actually, and I know, you know, Robin, we're almost down to our time, want to get all of your input with this question around the interconnectedness that you're talking about. You know, so for those of us, or, you know, those in the audience who may not be familiar with how prayer and having a sense of spiritual groundedness and even meditation can contribute to having a positive sense of mental wellness. They're like, I hear that. You know, people talk about this kind of stuff all the time. I go to church, but I'm not quite sure like how to start and what do I do? You know, there's a lot going on in my mind. I'm stressed all the time. Like, where do they start? Where would you tell a person, like, this is what you have to do as just a first step? You know, Tara, I certainly can offer this to you and go around the panel.
I think for me, discernment. Pray for discernment every day as part of the prayer, right? Prayer is so important. The relationship with God is important because it helps us understand what's our work and what's his work. And that's the ultimate self-care, is when you can turn it over to God, right? And the discernment around the, you know, the access and anything, any questions, any challenges, you know, as you're facing challenges in life, and not ending up in that black hole where you can't see the light. It's all, for me, centered around discernment and praying for that wisdom to come through in every situation, every second of the day. That's what I would advise. Yeah.
Dr. Raven, I'm going to come back to you and finish with Dr. Katrina on this question.
Yeah. So the question is, where do you start?
Where do you start? Yeah, what would you advise them to like start? I don't know what to do. I want to be, you know, more spiritually grounded. I want to pray more, but I'm not quite sure how to get started. I'm stressed out all the time. I talk to God, but I don't know if it's going through. Like, what do I need to do?
Yeah, so I would suggest find someone or a group, like a Bible study group, support group that is faith-based. Having someone that you can be accountable to, that is a great starting point, because we are humans and we are relational beings. We cannot do this thing called life on our own. That is just not in our genetic makeup to do, to operate by ourselves. So to have that support person, even if it's just one, you don't need a large grand church, but if that is your preference, by all means, because there is safety in having support, right? I think, the scripture that says in the midst of counselors, there's safety, right? So having those people who you can go to is important. And then in terms of how to start praying, God doesn't need all the hey, listen, it is very important and it's useful. Katrina's cracking up. But like all the tarrying and the speaking and stuff, all that stuff is for a purpose, right? And it is necessary. But God just wants you just to have a conversation with him.
Mhm.
Like I literally, when I pray sometimes and I'm in my car or at my job or I'm out at the mall somewhere, sometimes I would have my headphones in so people don't think I'm like crazy out here just talking to myself. But sometimes I'm really just having a conversation with God as if he's on the other line. Like, look at these people out here acting crazy. And then I'm like, oh Lord, help me, fix me. What's going on in my heart? Right. So it's just normalizing that it's okay just to have conversation like we have conversations with each other. Because God spoke to the people in the Bible just how you and I are talking to each other. It wasn't like, oh, I am, all the dramas that come with being taught in the church nowadays. But either way, there is a greatness in just having conversation and just being real. So
Thank you. Dr. Katrina, bring us home.
I want to use something that everyone has spoken about. The two words that come to me are submission and surrender. And the reason why they are important is that it allows you to understand what is yours and what is not. And it allows you to give it to him and understand that you are under him. You are under his, like he is from whom your help comes. He is whom your safety is in. He is whom your provision is in. Like he has written your story. All you have to do, Ray's been talking about it all night. All you have to do is come in alignment with that. But just as Tara talked about, you need the wisdom to see it. You need the wisdom to know that that is the path. But first of all, you have to say, you know what, Lord? I have tried it my way and it hasn't necessarily yielded the results that I want. And so what will I lose by trying it your way? What will I lose by giving it to you and then having enough fortitude to be patient, to let him work out? I love Psalms 46:10 where it says, be still. Just be still. Like I can't remember what the number is. I used to know it off the top of my head, but the amount of times that it is said in the Bible to be strong and of good courage. So here he's already telling you, like, listen, you ain't got nothing to be worried about. Trust me. And the trust happens in the submission and the trust happens in the surrender. So that would be the first place that I would start. And just in terms of just practicality, get into the Synoptic Gospels. If you want to know about him and know what he says and how he thinks and how he feels about and how important you are to him, get into the gospel. That's where the good news was to begin with. And then go explore and look at how messed up most of the main characters that we love were in the Bible, and he still loved them and went to the ends of the earth for them. And so I don't know nobody that has done half the stuff that the characters in the Bible have done. And you see how much he loved them. And if he loved them that much, why would he stop short with you? And so submit and surrender and allow him to show you who he is in your life. That would be where I would tell somebody to start.
All right. All right. Oh my goodness. What a beautiful way to end our powerful and meaningful conversation this evening. This was so good. This is so good. I know, Robin, I'm so sorry. I think we're a little bit over, but, I'm gonna, give it to you and then we can come back and close out. But this was great, ladies. This is great. Robin?
Yes. Hi. This is really like someone's just texting me saying this was incredible. Someone texted and said, thank you all for your time and expertise during this couch session. It was shared with me by a church member. God bless you all. Right. Speaking of prayer, someone texted and said, yes, surrendering and submission, the two S's. Right? We need to have an accountability partner as well. Another person said daily, all day going conversations with prayer. So it doesn't necessarily you have to wait till a Sunday, right? um, or Saturday, when you're in fellowship all day, every day. As Raven had mentioned, just simple words, just having a conversation like like we're having a conversation now. God is not going to get us because we didn't say the these and the thous and oh, most holy one. No, 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 no. The songwriter says he hears our faintest cry and he answers by and by, right? Have a little talk with Jesus and he'll make everything all right. Someone else mentioned about just sitting in his presence. And another person, same person said, so your healing requires your participation. You have to participate in your healing process, not just leaving it to the doctors, the nurses, the therapists, or God, but you have to, we're joint heirs. We're in it together, partnering with God. So I am grateful for, again, this opportunity for us to come together to have this conversation about our mental well-being, mental health, and being real and relevant, and you all sharing um, um, your expertise and your knowledge and your experience. I'm grateful for, and I thank God for those who have logged in. And I want to make a quick segue because I think this is really great. First of all, I'm quite sure that you all are willing and able and ready, and it's on your calendar for November 7th, 2026 for our 7th annual She Shines Conference. It'll be here before you know it. And so I want to just address those who are watching now and those who will be watching later. If you just think what this past 2 hours or almost 2 hours was something that was incredible and was life-changing and transformative and challenging, right? I just invite you to join us November 7th at the She Shines Conference. However, before we get to November 7th, I want to invite you June 20th. We are having a birthday fundraiser wellness day retreat. Absolutely. So May, we had this conversation about our mental wellness and our well-being. And June, we're going to gather together, ladies, and it's going to be your day to woosah, your day just to exhale, your day just to do what you want to do or participate. We're going to have an amazing time, a time of relaxation, just getting away on the Still Rise Farms. It's a wellness farm. And the owner is Dr. Monique Gary. And I'm so excited for my sister friend who has participated and spoke at our She Shines conference last year. She has this amazing wellness farm. We all need to get away one day, just to be well, treat ourselves, right? And so we're inviting you all out. You want information, by all means, just contact us at the She Shines on social media. Find us. You can Google us. You'll find us, and we'll make sure you get the information. I'm telling you, when I say wellness, I'm talking about even down to what our lunch, right? Healthy spread. We're going to have the yoga and the massages and all that stuff, right? That our bodies, crave and long for, right? And so we're going to pay attention to ourselves, our mental wellness, as well as our physical wellness. And so, yeah, I put in, no, it's not a shameless plug. It is a plug, right? And so I'm excited because it's all about us shining. Even on the cloudy days, right? The sun is shining somewhere else on cloudy days, but know that the sun is shining. And it is our mission and our purpose to empower, to inspire, and to offer hope to women and let them know that you do have a purpose and God has a plan for your life and you're not alone in your situation. And I'm telling you, when we talk about, you guys are talking about prayer does work, right? It may not happen overnight because God is doing some work in our lives, and it's a process, right? Before we can sit down to dine and eat together, the food has to be prepped. All right, okay. I don't know if you, as my pastor said, it just went over your head, right? Before we can sit down to dine and eat together, right? The meal that we have planned to serve, it has to be prepped. And sometimes, well, not sometimes, if it's something that has to go into the oven, there's heat.
Mm-hmm.
Come on here.
Come
right?
on.
There's heat, right? And in the frying pan, there's heat. And sometimes we got to turn up the fire, and sometimes the fire, you just got to let it simmer for a while, right? But you best believe when it's all said and done, and the food is now brought to the table, we bless the food and we can eat and dine together, and we'll all say, good, right? And so that's how it is. That's how it is. Sometimes prayer just has to bake. Sometimes, it has to go through the process. We have to go through the process. But know this for sure, that God sees you, God hears you, and God is always there. And it doesn't matter. Even in terms of our mental well-being, He is concerned about that. He really is. So again, I just want to thank you, Dr. Marquita, for facilitating this session, Dr. Raven Maddox, Dr. Katrina Edmonds, Tara Scott. I just want to thank you, and to Dr. George James. I just want to say thank you to all of you for taking the time out. And it is my prayer that God will favor you for sowing into this ministry, into this assignment, right? And I know that. I know that because this is good ground, because we are His people and we're good people. He created us in His image and His likeness. And so I'm excited about what is going to come forth as we continue to plan other Comfy Couch conversations. And we have another one that's coming up in June 4th, as a matter of fact. You'll hear more about that as well. And I want to thank all of you who tuned in. So with that said, Dr. Marquita, I'm going to give you the final say, and, the guests as well. And I'm going to digress at this time.
Thank you. Thank you. This was such a wonderful conversation, talking about stress, boundary setting, and burnout, professionally and personally, like how do you navigate, being overwhelmed and making sure that your mental health, stays in a positive place, and wrapping it up with the role of prayer and being spiritually grounded in ensuring your mental wellness. Like, I pray that anybody and everybody who has been listening today get something out of what we've talked about. And if it is the case that you need to seek some support, or you are in need of a resource, I know Robin wanted us to make sure that we were able to talk about resources. Healthy Minds Philly. It's all one word. HealthyMindsPhilly.com is the City of Philadelphia's resource page, and you can find therapists, providers, agencies, all kinds of support, crises support if you need a training in mental health first aid, as well as connections to our faith and spiritual affairs opportunities, all on Healthy Minds Philly. And anytime anyone is in a mental health emergency, 988 are the 3 numbers that you need to remember to dial. I am Dr. Marquita. You can reach me at drmarquita.com everywhere. And I'm going to pass it to Dr. Raven.
Yes. So thank you for having me tonight. This was great discussion. And I can't wait for us to continue this discussion during the conference. If anyone wants to follow me on Instagram, my page is at Adulam Grace. That's ADULLAM A-M as in Mary, Grace, Grace, just Adulam Grace. That is my business page. That is the page where I post a lot of content on bridging the gap between mental health and faith and breaking intergenerational trauma, cycles, and patterns. And so my tagline for Adulam Grace is "You are graced for this moment." So you guys can check it out. It's fairly new, just started it in December. So yes, but that is my page, Adulam Grace, Adullam as in Mary, Grace, Grace. So thank you.
Dr. Katrina?
So I am rebranding right now. So the best way to reach me is actually via email. And that is besetfreecounselingministry@gmail.com. Website will be up probably later this summer, and that will be www.besetfreecounselingministry.com. So we'll start posting a little bit more content maybe later this year, but I'm around. Just holler at me.
Holler at me. All right. And Tara, last but certainly not least.
Yes, it's been such a pleasure and a privilege to be here. Thank you for inviting me and having me. I can be reached on LinkedIn, so you can just look me up, Tara Wayne Scott, on LinkedIn. If there's ever any reason why someone will reach out to me, but that is the forum, and I'm grateful. Thank you for having me.
Sure, some people want to reach out to you. I want to reach out to you. You have been just a plethora of knowledge around that, HR leadership portal. That is so important, so work and mental health, it's really important. So many organizations now are, have hired therapists and, hired behavioral health professionals on site and trying to make sure that they get all the things, but also to make sure that they create a culture of wellness in their organization. So absolutely, you have been a valuable resource this evening.
And again, thank you. If you want to contact me, look me up. You can just do so on Facebook, She Shines Sisterhood, as well as Instagram, She Shines _sisterhood as well. And of course, you can contact me directly by email, and that is She Shines Sisterhood at She Shines Sisterhood 1 at gmail.com. Thank you all again for your time and sharing. And for all of you, we look forward to seeing you again back here June 4th for our next Comfy Couch Conversations. Take care. God bless.
Ladies,
and have a really great evening.